Well, welcome everyone to the Game Design Challenge Final Project Showcase presented by the SNHU Career Services team in partnership with our SNHU Game Art and Development and Creative Writing academic team members. My name is Alyssa Laskowski and I work on the SNHU Career Services team. And just a quick note, this presentation will be recorded for all of us. So Dana, on to the next slide, please. So your experience at SNHU is very important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the appropriate accessibility center. So online students, you can email oac@snhu.edu or call 866-305-9430. Campus students, you can email cac@snhu.edu or call 603-644-3118. And of course, any SNHU staff or faculty, you can just email hr@snhu.edu. And Dana, next slide, please. So keep in mind that SNHU Career Services is an included resource during and after your academic journey with SNHU. It's a lifetime benefit, and our SNHU Career Services team can assist with resume reviews, practice interview techniques, job search guidance, and much more. So you can connect with our team at cocecareer@snhu.edu or give us a call at 1-888-672-1458. And we also recommend that you check out Handshake, which is our career website and platform if you have not already. All SNHU students and alumni have an account and can sign in with their MySNU login credentials and details to complete your Handshake profile. You can use it to apply to jobs or internships. You can explore a wide variety of career events. You can network with our employer contacts and other SNHU students and alumni and explore the nationwide Handshake community. And also, we encourage you to take advantage of our social networks that are available to the SNHU community members through our LinkedIn, Facebook, X or Twitter, our YouTube, and our Instagram. Next slide, please. All right, so let's go over our agenda. So our agenda for this evening is to start by introducing our employer partners, followed by team presentations and employer feedback. So please respect that these concepts and presentations are the intellectual property of the respective student teams. And finally, we will end with some Q&A. And now I will turn over to my colleague, Corey.
Thanks, Alyssa. Hi, everybody. Again, welcome. Thank you for being here. Corey White, Employer Relations Partner for the West Region with Career Services. If you want to go to the next slide, Dana. I'm going to get started here with some fabulous employer partners of ours that dedicated their time and resources to help and give some feedback to all of your projects and that are with us here tonight to listen to your pitches. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce some of our panelists. Steve from Microsoft Garage, if you want to come off mute and say hi to the folks and give us a little bit about you, and then we'll go on to the next.
Hi, everybody. Steve Callan, Microsoft Garage. I work in a part of the company where we help employees at a grassroots level turn ideas into real things. Part of my role here over the years and what I'm doing right now is I run the data team that provides the business health, insights, and growth about the 4 key businesses that we're in.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for being here again. Back-to-back years. Love it. All right, go ahead next. Next, we have Troy Campbell from Belfrost Studios. Troy, if you want to come off mute and say hi to the folks.
Hi, I'm Troy Campbell. I am the creative director of Belfrost Studios. We are a team. Many of us originally were from the school, and it's really cool to be coming back to this and kind of sharing the experience we've had coming from this. Currently, as our studio, we're kind of focusing on AI in the field, as AI is kind of affecting a lot of the jobs that people are having right now, and we're kind of wanting to, create some avenues and doors for people to kind of step into that and create discussion for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy. Thanks for joining us. Next, we have Max from Activision Blizzard. Take it away, Max.
Hi, everybody. I'm Max from Activision Blizzard, senior talent sourcer, and I was invited by Jim and Dana, and I'm here to check out the great presentations by the team. I've looked over them, and I'm going to provide feedback a little bit later. It's been a busy, crazy last month, but I'm here to see what the students have to present.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. And then we have Grover as well. It looks like Brian is running just a bit late, so we will get right on to the teams. So without further ado, the meat and the potatoes of the presentation. So we're looking forward to hearing from our teams, our student teams, and checking that out. So student team 1, Blighted, you're up. We're going to start the promotion video now, and then after that, the team speaker can take the floor and share anything that they have and do their pitch.
Blighted is a first-person shooter set in an overgrown post-apocalyptic cityscape where nature's sprawl has brought life to the remains of human civilization. Conflict rages like wildfire between the remnants of humanity and the mysterious dryads, warring for territory and access to a tree that holds more than just the cure for mankind's viral outbreak. Maya, our protagonist, is born without the innate sense of duty as other dryads, setting her apart from the rest of her kind. Her journey from a cultural outcast to a beacon of change embodies the game's core themes, standing at the crossroads of humanity and the untamed wild. Her path intertwines with Dr. Ava Corvus, a scientist driven by a personal crusade against the Blight. Together, they explore the complexities of their world, unlocking its secrets and facing the consequences of unchecked ambition, embodied by their adversary, Dr. Rickard Adder. His transformation from man to monster mirrors the perilous journey of tampering with evolution. Blighted's gameplay is a blend of first-person action, puzzle solving, and exploration. Scale the verticality of an overgrown world, utilizing Maya's nature-infused weapons that adapt to the environment. From entangling foes with vines to firing lightning from the bugs that call her body home, each choice you make influences the fate of those who live in it. Every playthrough will be shaped by your actions, giving each run its own unique feel, but one question will always remain: will you be the change nature never intended?
How awesome was that? All right. Let's hear from the Team 1 Blighted leader speaker. If you want to come off mute and go ahead and pitch.
Okay, so this has been such an incredible project, and I am so beyond excited that we get to present to you guys today. What a video! Like, wow! Oh my goodness, that really like encapsulated the essence, yes, of what we were going for. So I just want to give a huge shout out to our team, the endless hours and meetings, and I'm an artist. I'm one of the artists, and I can only speak for the artists, and I will give the room for the creative writers here in a minute. But for the artists, we really came together as a team to collaborate on all of these art pieces. We would go and share our Photoshop file with each other, and one person would put this in, one person put another thing in, and it was really a team project from the beginning. There are like a few things that we really took on on our own. So I want to give special credit to Callie for Dr. Corvus, Eric for Dr. Adder, and myself for Maya. Again, we all put in the collective effort for those 3 characters, but the those are the people who really like put the most into those characters. So I just love that how far we've come, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give the proverbial torch over to our Matt to go over the creative writing aspect.
Hi. So yeah, so this story kind of evolved quite a bit over the course of the actual project itself. Kind of one of the main things that we were looking at was obviously we took a lot of inspiration from various sources. There's obviously very aesthetically very similar to like The Last of Us and things, and kind of the idea of like the major theme of man versus nature being very present in a lot of modern day games, especially with more modern contexts of man-made climate change and things like that. We kind of thought about the idea of flipping it on its head and going a little bit more for nature versus man, and the idea of what happens when nature fights back against mankind due to their unchecked ambition, but you end up embodying that form. So we kind of talked about the idea of like the adaptability of her weapons, the being able to traverse through the environment, finding local flora and fauna to be able to adapt to change the entire play system. So as opposed to using like a traditional ammo count, we use something more of like an overgrowth meter, which was a bit more inspired from like Warhammer's Vermintide, if anybody's played that, another great fantasy first-person shooter. But the idea that instead of like a traditional ammo count, you kind of build up these resources, but you have to play around with it, because if you build up too much, like Nature's Fury gets essentially unleashed and can do a devastating AoE attack, but can also stun her and leave her open to attack. But it was more about the idea of trying to bridge that gap between mankind and the nature that is fighting back against them. As far as we doing this whole project in 7 weeks was quite time consuming, especially since most of us are working full time and going to school full time and doing this as well. And there are some things that we wish that we could have translated better into like the final document. But unfortunately, like some of the criteria and the rubrics like specified specific word counts, like trying to keep it under certain word count or trying to keep everything to 2 paragraphs. So we did the best with what we could, but sometimes some of the deeper meaning does get lost in there. But overall, the writing team, we really came together and really fleshed out these characters together. I kind of took kind of the brunt work for the main theme and conflicts, but Hannah and Michael did so much of the heavy lifting when it came to not only just like the naming conventions, but the actual personalities of the character, um, how these conflicts can actually shape the personal stories of like the three major characters: the companion, the protagonist, and the villain. But also at the same time, I mean, Hannah was our absolute rock when it came to organizational skills. I am absolutely not a type A personality, and without her, I would have been drowning this entire time. Michael always coming in with the amazing connections to a lot of mythology, obviously dryads inspired from Greek mythology, forest nymphs who inhabit trees. We also saw the connection to Norse mythology with Yggdrasil and the great tree that these creatures spawn from. So there was quite a lot of mix and match inspiration, I suppose, when it comes to it.
Matt, do you mind if I step in? I don't know how much time we have, but-
Absolutely not. Yeah, go for it. If we have time, I would love to hear from you.
So one thing I love about our game, Matt touched upon, is how unique the combat was envisioned. But another thing is how accessible the game is. Like, we really formulated it in a way that is open to a very, very wide audience. Like, it'd be kid friendly, adult friendly. Parents would be okay with their game. It's not super sexual, there's a lot of desexualization on how the characters are formed, but you can still tell who's who. So our audience in mind was definitely something we, took a hard stride on. Is we want it to be available for a lot of different people. So that's something I wanted to point out. And he also mentioned a lot of the mythological references. It's deep within the story, even in the names. Like, we named the laboratory Argil, which is like it's a molding clay, which kind of goes with our nature theme, but it's also an anagram for Grail, because Maya is trying to get into the laboratory to either mend this conflict of which side she wants to go with, if she wants to stay on her dryad side, or she becomes empathic and learns from the human side, where she can either go human side or Maya's or dryad side, or she can go neutral, where she tries to save both, and end the blight completely. So yeah, very excited about this game, and I think there was so much work, and I have to express my gratitude for each and every one of us. The writers and artists just went above and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you, Team Blighted. So with that, I want to hand it over to the employers that we have here to give some feedback. So maybe we can do a quick round robin, maybe some points that you saw within their game design document, and then the pitches that you heard, and then maybe anything that they could go back and continue to work on. So with that, looks like Steve, you're ready to jump in there. So I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I won't be able to hide my excitement or enthusiasm. As Corey mentioned, this is my second time around. I made sure to make time for it. Let me say this, and I'm going to repeat this to every team. So just congratulations. You made something out of nothing.
Thank you.
I mean, you made something out of nothing. I hope that you all just congratulations for the obvious energy, thoughtfulness, the clear collaboration that I saw between the writing and the art. Like clearly you were a team that executed something. Remember, the best thing you're going to make in your life, you'll make with other people. So congratulations.
True that.
I
True that.
Yeah.
Love that.
That was
Love
awesome.
it.
Yeah, and the thing I know you're probably all sitting here and you had all sorts of ideas you couldn't represent, and maybe things didn't get far. My wish for you, if I could pass any advice, just put that on the side for just a moment, just let that pause, and again, just sort of reflect like you made something out of nothing. And when you do that from a creative perspective, that's a lifelong thing that I hope that you all feel some pride about, because I want you to keep going. My main motivation today is that you keep going. Okay. So having said that, here's what I love about your game. I read your doc quickly, and then I kind of walked away, and I came back the next day and I kind of thought, what do I remember? And then I read it in detail because I wanted to appreciate all the work. The part that I really love is I think thematically, this sort of story or narrative, you have sort of nature doing its thing and humanity doing its thing, and Maya kind of caught in the middle of both of those, I think is really appealing to a wide audience of people. I think there's a lot of really great things that you could both get done entertainment wise and educational wise. Almost, it's just like exposing that this view, this sustainability view, this ecological view we have of the world. It's not simple. It's not as simple as people make it out to be. And Maya's conflict, being caught between both of them, I think is a great way for people to relate to a character. Oh, I feel that there's nobody that's either good. One side's not good, the other side's not bad. It's sort of I'm caught in the middle. So I thought that was really smart. It made people kind of appeal to it as like, I kind of feel that way too. I feel kind of caught too. I'm kind of consumptive on the human side, but I want to care about the planet on the other side. And like I'm in the middle of this. I felt like that was really clever. I thought that your ideas about how to represent, when you have the environment involved, sort of so much diversity there, and it gave you a chance. I saw you kind of regularly expressing that kind of let that diversity kind of come out. Because when you think of the environment again, it's so rich, it's so beautiful. It's also sort of ugly, it's also sort of thorny, right? And it's all sort of celebrating that. So I really appreciated all that. If I could ask you to go further, like, if you want to keep working, I keep pushing that Maya character to get caught in the middle of that and to let that be kind of that conflict. Like your tagline kind of makes it feel like nature's kind of inflicting. I feel like what I want to do, I want to relate to Maya being caught in the middle of the good and bad of both sides, and then finding some way to resolve that in the end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Very well
Absolutely
put.
awesome.
Thanks, Steve. Troy or Max, if you want to jump in next, just give a quick little feedback to Team One.
Yeah, I can go. You guys can hear me, right? Good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome. This was really cool. Like reading through this, there was a lot of things that I thought was really fascinating. And I both loved it and hated it. And I hated it because I'm allergic to nature. That's actually a disability I have. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is so cool, but at the same time, it's a little terrifying. So it was a really fun game to be able to kind of look at. And I did feel a little bad because like reading through this, it felt like there were either time constraints or things that were not there, because it did feel like there's a little bit of an incomplete thought in areas. Like for instance, you mentioned like some of the doctors and you were like, there was some sort of trauma. And it was like, okay, and it felt like that it wasn't fully cooked out with some of that stuff, but I would love to see that more. The other thing is like, we got like some of the information, like the labs, but like the world of the dryads, like I would love to have seen more of that. Like, and the thing is that's great about this game is like the world that you've kind of described so far makes you want to know more about that world, right? And I'm curious, like, what does their civilization look like in this post-apocalyptic looking environment? What are some of the things that drive, like you mentioned, this character Maya being caught between, you know, these two realities, these worlds that she's kind of caught up with the humans and with her own culture. Like, does she have family that's like very opposed to humanity? Like, what does that look like? Does she have a sister, brother, parents? Like, do they very much detest the idea that she's kind of going at? Like, what is the motivations, personal motivations, the world motivations and behind those characters? And I would like to have seen that more. I know for the PDF, like for the gameplay systems and mechanics, from the document that I got, all I got were images. And I'm looking at this and I'm kind of like, okay, what do some of these things do? Like, I would have loved to have seen like maybe Maya interacting with the world itself as like a combat system, blending in with the actual combat that you would have in with an FPS shooter, like a game called Warframe, for instance. Warframes have abilities, they have these amazing skills, and you know, you could do some really cool stuff like that, or you can kind of blend it to where, you know, there's more science impacting the world. So there's like the good thing about your game is it makes you want more, like you want more information about this world, and that's what's exciting about this. It is a really amazing concept, amazing world, and I would love to see more fleshed out with this project because it's really interesting.
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That
Thank
was
you.
really
Yeah,
really
Very
good.
good feedback.
we had
Great
word
feedback.
count.
Love it.
We had word
Max, go
counts
ahead.
and stuff.
Yeah, amazing job, team. Y'all did a great job on the game, the layout. I looked at the documents. Like I said, I didn't get the time to give feedback and review them, but once I saw your presentation tonight, it is a game that you want more of. It's visually great, and you want to see more of those things, those concepts as you go through it. And that's my feedback. My feedback's gonna be really short
right.
and sweet right
Appreciate
now.
it.
So, and I'll give you
Always,
more
always
later
leave them
on.
wanting more, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how your game had me feeling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Valid.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, thank you, Team 1, Blighted. We will move on to Team 2. So Dana, if you want to cue that up for us, we will pass it over and watch the promo video for Team 2, Oblitus. Wow. The artwork alone has me really excited to hear more about this one. I'd like to know who had a handle in doing all that artwork on that. But if the speaker for Team 2 could come off mute and give and start your pitch for your team.
That is me, if you can hear me okay.
We can.
All right, hi, I'm Scylla. I had a sideshow. I don't know how to stream it. Don't care anymore, so we're gonna ditch that. But, so Oblitus is a game about Alzheimer's. Your protagonist is a character that wakes up in a Fae-like world with no memories of what's really going on. They go and explore and find memory fragments and shards that have memories of their loved ones, and you can make different decisions in the cutscenes, kind of like a visual novel type thing, and it changes the outcome of each memory. There are multiple endings depending on how you answer. There are also collectibles, which also affect the endings. I think in the end we had like 4 or 5 different endings based off of it. The art that you saw, that was my art team did a really good job. Jackie, Tamar, and Pam. Sorry, I almost called them by their Discord name. Writers, Maya and Alexi, they did a great job with the characters we created. If I could have done any improvements, or we could have as a team, I think it was knowing the expectations of the GDD to add more detail, because there was a lot in our feedback and what we could have done, but we didn't know based off the scope, because we were trying to keep it smaller, because obviously scope's a big deal. 6 people, none of us can code. It wasn't a lot we could do. But if you have any questions, I guess it's ready for me to answer.
Awesome, thank you, team 2. So we'll go reverse order this time for the employer feedback portion for team 2. So Max, if you want to take it away first.
I had to find my mute button. Great job, team 2. I understand those obstacles that you have to overcome. I think that overall the presentation, the artwork looks great. So I can't wait to dive into the project and learn more about how the concept is.
All right, thanks, Max. Troy, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feedback to team 2.
You're able to hear me? I just want to double check my microphone and everything. We're good? Okay, awesome. This is an amazingly great game, and the great games have like really good messages and things beyond that. And like I lost all of my grandparents in a single year due to Alzheimer's. And it was really hard because I took care of them and I watched them go from these very intellectual, smart people and become shells of who they once were. So it was terrifying. And honestly, to this day, that's my greatest fear, of losing myself, basically. So being able to go through this environment and collect these things is really great. I think that there's so much potential with something like this. In fact, I would love to see this as a game. But the one thing I would like to see with this is that the weak spot is that I would love to see maybe more of a threat in an environment like this, where you have memory being lost, and that is a very scary concept. And you can almost have like the darkness or the shadow or something that's basically trying to take away those memories from you. And it would be really interesting to see that contrast come into this environment, because being able to just travel this beautiful world is great, but being able to have something motivating the player towards that directive, I think is going to be really great to do. Like maybe the people in this world, this beautiful reality you guys created, don't want to lose those memories, but they don't know where everything is at. And you might be able to use terminology and things to really build off that. In fact, the map itself, I think that's a great way to actually show, like, make the map almost look like a brain or maybe like a neural pathway or something, to where it shows that there's a lot of layers to something like that. And I think that'd be great. But it's a beautiful game, and I would love to see more of it.
Thanks, Troy. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think I'm right where Troy was. Like, first of all, again, congratulations. You made something out of nothing. And again, another team where you can clearly see, the teamwork, the collaboration, and you all care about something. And when you put that out there, that's a brave thing to do. And so, thank you for being vulnerable and doing that. And I hope this feels great to do it. I like Troy, like overall the game, like how it's played. I mean, it's simple. I'll call it focus. It's not simple. It's sort of focus. Like you're collecting things, and it's a common metaphor that's kind of used in gaming. What I got it completely attached to was what it was about. And the fact that, as Troy mentioned, so many people relate to knowing somebody in your life who's suffering from memory loss. Memory loss, like eyesight, it's something that's going to impact everybody. And so it has this kind of universal theme to it that you immediately relate to. I just immediately, like Troy, I have people in my life, both right now and unfortunately in the past, who suffered through this. And like him, I want to help defeat it. And so I felt like completely emotionally attached to your game. The unfortunate part of that is I'm so attached to it, I sort of feel like I want it to work out in a very specific way. You know, I want it to go from dark to light, you know, because I want to feel like in the helplessness that we all have, both the people afflicted by these things and everyone, all your other characters, and you had this great set of characters that, in my mind, is like, yeah, if anyone, if you know people with memory loss or afflicted by Alzheimer's, they have family, they have friends, they have spouses, they have children, and they're all sitting on the outside trying to figure out, how can I help? How can I? And they feel like helpless about it. And so I feel like this game is, oh, you finally, you don't have to be helpless anymore. You can contribute. So unfortunately, what that meant for me was I had a very specific vision of how I needed this game to work out emotionally. I needed it to go from light. You start out in this sort of dark, like great, like we're so familiar with the dark. I needed it to be light at the end. Your character, you talked about them going from child to adult. It's like, I need them to go from adult to child. This sort of, I need it to be restorative. You know, I need the restoration in the end just to feel good, because my real life version of that is not going to be that, you know. But that's only a function. I mean, that's a great thing for you, because I was so emotionally connected to the game. I just felt like I really wanted to work out. Like, we talked about multiple paths, I went in and I want to figure out, how do I get my path that I want, that I need in the end. So and that's congratulations, because if you're going to bake something that's compelling to people and emotionally connected, like, that's part of what you're doing, that's part of what your writing did, that's part of what your team did. And so congratulations for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, employer panelists, for the feedback for Team 2. Really awesome pieces of information to take with you, Team 2, as you potentially work on this moving forward. Off to Team 3 now. Dana, if you want to get Glory's promo video ready to roll. Here we go.
I'll be with you in just a moment.
You better make us a priority.
I didn't know they let such beautiful women bartend in these parts.
You're ill, Commander.
I'm sorry.
Paying for her already? Archers really are quick to the draw, huh?
Oh, good one, Commander. Now that is a mystery I'd like to discover.
Not if I discover them first. Sit here like a good whelp and watch what Glory can give you.
Aren't you married?
Is she here? What is somebody like you doing in a place like this?
You think I don't belong here? I think I fit in much easier than you in such formal regalia.
Finally, somebody who gets it. I'm Daneth, the Paragon, commander of East Encias, Kingsguard.
How glorious. I do think someone like you deserves a private room for your leisure time. Why don't we take a room and get to know one another better?
I be able to get a glimpse of your face before I agree?
Am I acceptable to your discerning eye?
Daneth, wake up! Daneth, get up!
Look at you bleeding on the ground. Almost reminds me of someone.
Unless you want to get us both killed, I would get your ass up and keep fighting.
Damn it, woman, I'm trying. Who are you?
You will know me very soon. Till then, I get to admire you both in all your glory.
Color me intrigued, Team 3. I will pass it over to the speaker for Glory. If you want to come off mute. If you do need to share anything, up at the top right-hand corner, there's a share button, and you can do it right through there. Take it away.
Hello, and thank you for your time. We are Team 3, the SNHU Collective, and we would like to introduce our game, Glory. So, what exactly is Glory? So, first and foremost, it's a story-driven game where you determine the outcome, whether it be through redemption or damnation. You get to travel through the world of Quantrana as Guard Commander Daneth, where his hubris and arrogance kick off the story of the game. As for the genre, it's going to be a third-person action-adventure horror with dungeon crawl and roguelike elements. So although this concept has been done before, and of course there is a lot of genres in this game by itself, we believe that how you present this is key for the success of the game in general. Many modern releases also draw from multiple sources of genres to create said games. For example, Elden Ring, Darksiders 2, or even The Legend of Zelda all take from these different types of genres and are praised for it because of their revolutionary take on how to present it. The roguelike elements also come from the replayability of this game. No single run is going to be the same. Armor, weapons, stats, skills, and a bunch of other different interactions from NPCs or even main story beats will all be different with each run of the game. As for the target audience, we believe that with a game of this caliber, it would be best to primarily target young adults, being 18 to 26 years old. We have done a little bit of research via Steam, which is our primary distribution platform that we would like to release the game on. And we have seen that many games of similar genres with similar targeted audiences have overwhelmingly positive reviews. And we believe that that's why that would be the best target audience. Now that you know what Glory is, how do you go about playing it? So, going down real quick, there are two phases of gameplay. The first one is where you are in base camp, and the second one is where you are actually traversing the trials of the game. So, for base camp, you get to interact with NPCs as well as Nyla, the shield maiden that you saw within the teaser trailer. And you also get to purchase items, supplies, basically take a break from the main bulk of the game, which is the dungeon crawl exploration portion of it. And you also have a set amount of actions that you can do per day before you get to nighttime. During nighttime, there is a chance in which Wistaria, the antagonist of the game, as well as her armies, will go about attacking base camp. And if you are unable to defend the camp during that time, certain aspects of the actual base camp will no longer be accessible for a certain amount of time. So shops or weapon shops, or even your inventory, like your storage area, those can become unavailable during that time. Now, when you feel confident enough to go about traversing the world, you can head out and go towards each one of the different trials that you can explore. So those are narcissism, greed, and power. Each of these are meant to represent the deepest and darkest flaws that Daneth has as a character. And each dungeon actually is themed around these flaws. For example, for the greed trial, utilizing money or how much loot that you grab from within the dungeon can either make your run harder or easier depending on what you do. So this game really makes it to where you are rewarded or hurt based off of the actions that you do. Now, what makes Glory different from other games on the market? First and foremost, the main mechanic of the game is the Bless and Curse gauge, both of which are affected by the player's choices. Each gauge provides their own pros and cons, the Curse gauge increasing Daneth's combat potential as well as power. However, enemies becoming more hostile towards the party, Nyla and other NPCs will less likely be able to assist Daneth due to his beast-like nature, and letting it go to 100% will actually lock you into a bad end for the game. The Bless gauge, on the other hand, directly counters the Curse gauge, allowing Daneth to manually lower it or utilize it for supportive buffs and combo actions for Nyla. Additionally, the Bless gauge actively helps the player and Daneth's redemption, making NPCs more trusting of him and making side quests with valuable resources a lot more commonplace. And we believe that the story presented in Glory makes for one of the most unique experiences a game can have. Everything from character interactions, quests, or even environments add towards the overarching story, thus making you really want to get in and explore as much as possible so you can get more context. Difficulty also adds additional elements to the game as well, besides simply making it harder. So trials, atmosphere, or even the enemy types or the models of them will become more horrific with higher difficulties, thus providing different experiences no matter what difficulty you're comfortable with as a player. Now, I believe that one of the most important things, why should you care? So first and foremost, market shows that gamers will buy games like this. We believe that, as I mentioned previously, Steam shows that games of similar genres or of similar play styles tend to be really successful, especially roguelike games, because of how much pick up and play and replayability that you can have with it. You can lose hundreds of hours into one game so long as the core gameplay is fun and engaging for the player. True freedom of choice is good for business. So I can't even count how many times there are games where they give you the option of choice, but there are times where that it doesn't really matter. It'll give you a little bit of dialogue changes, maybe may have a party member not follow you anymore, but at the end of the day, the story is still the same. We want to make sure that what happens with Daneth and Nyla is up to your hands. And yes, there are some constants throughout the game, but at the end of the day, it is forged by you. The main thing that me and my team are very much passionate about is making sure that there's no microtransactions or gacha in this game. We believe that gamers want transparency with the price as well as the production of a game because it builds trust with them. If they're going to spend money on your game, you have to show them that you are trustworthy enough in order for them to give you your time, not to mention have a quality product, which we believe that we have. The game actively rewards players for their time investment into the game. The more you practice with combos or combat, the better you are going to get with each different run. The more time that you take to explore the dungeons or even the world around you, you're going to get rewarded with story, context, lore of the world, so on and so forth. And finally, communities help build games, and they also help spread games. With the internet growing as big as it is, with Discord, YouTube, Twitch, so on and so forth, the more people that we have brought into the community for the game, it's going to allow for the game to spread out for more people to be able to play it, and thus increasing the amount of sales, games, so on and so forth. And that's why we believe that it is, or why you should care. Next up, we have a quick video. So shout outs to Cameron. He has went about designing what one of the trials would look like, the trial of power. Thank as well to the creative writers as well. They were the ones who came up with this beautiful idea. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. And that will be all for the presentation. Thank you so much. And also thank you to my team. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Emmanuel and Team 3, Glory. Great work, great job. We will go right into the employer feedback. We'll start with Troy.
Awesome. This was really fascinating. I had fun kind of going over this. In fact, one of my favorite games is Elden Ring. That's a game I played about, and it's a game that you guys referenced. And one of the things that I saw with your game is you seem to focus more on the systems, and you had some really interesting systems on the characters, on the weapons, on the gameplay. But the world itself, it felt like it was up to interpretation, where it's a dungeon crawler style game, but I think the assumption is it's a medieval game. based on like what we know with the combat and systems and things like that. But the thing that works with the games that you even referenced, which was Darksiders and Elden Ring and these amazing games, was they have these beautiful worlds, these things that entice the player in. There's a lot of things that entice the game, which is like gameplay, world design, character design, it's story progression, things like that. And it felt like there was a void there when you guys were going at the game where I didn't really know what you guys wanted to do. Like if it's medieval and there's castles and these environments, because you mentioned dungeons, I'm assuming with that, what does that look like? Like, do you have like, because there's so much evil and things that in this world, is it like a castle that's got like skulls part of the architecture with snakes weaving in between it? Is it like eagles? Is it like what is the world that the player is thrust into? What exactly is that going to be like? Like even for the very beginning, we saw the character intro, you guys were focusing on characters in these amazingly well done characters. Don't get me wrong, the characters are amazing. I had fun looking at that, but there was no world design presented in video in the PDF, and I would love to see what you guys are going to thrust the player into. Other than that, in terms of the gameplay, there's a lot there to kind of go into. There's the bless and curse system, which is basically a good and evil system, and there's a lot of these cool systems where you can basically go in as the player, and yeah, you have these options to go into, you have these options to play it a little bit differently, and the time investment is there, and it's great. But I would love to see more motivation in terms of like the world building on what that will look like in the end. But once again, you guys made something really great with this, and I think it's worth going at with a second pair of eyes and kind of going in building that up, because this would be something I would play for sure. I would just love to see more investment in that world you guys want to create, because it's a really fascinating game, and I would love to see more of it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Max or Steve, if one of you wants to jump in next.
Max, why don't you go?
All right, cool. Team 3, amazing job. Steve, you look like you was ready to go. That's why I was gonna pause. But great job with the market research for this game. That's one of the elements that I haven't heard today. It seems like you dove deep into market research, how well the game will do. You compared it to comparison titles in the genre. I love the good versus evil meter. And I love playing dungeon games. So this was an awesome game overall. Troy gave you some stuff to take with you. I'm only giving quick and short feedback. So I'm gonna pass it over to Steve.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I and again, congratulations, team. You made something out of nothing. I'm just gonna say that over and over. So yeah, like, because I felt like your pride in it. What I felt by reading your document, it was so strong in the beginning. You had this sort of clear point of view of like, you know who you are, you know why you exist, you know who you're for. You had what I called like this great core setup, and you heard it in your narrative there. Like you're purposeful, things exist for a reason. I felt like that was yet a strong starting point. Very, very, very relatable. I think what Troy and Max were talking about is like, again, I'm going to oversimplify it, kind of way my brain works, is you have a great character and that character is cursed, and they're cursed in three ways, and they're going to go out and tackle those three things in these trials. And, unlike my feedback from the previous one, hey, I'm good. Maybe it's redemption, maybe it's ruination. Hey, but we're good. I think like I heard from Troy, I think I kind of want more of that. What are these worlds? Does each of those trials represent that core theme? I had this idea. It's like, oh, you're like 7 deadly sins. Kind of you're cursed with each of the sins, each of the trials about it, and maybe you're ruined, maybe you're redemptive. And then I think the vision for each of those worlds is they reflect that theme. Your world on greed reflects greed as a theme. And there's this trial, and I might come back okay, and I might not, and that's kind of really relatable. I think like Troy, I was thinking like, how does this progress over time? What does progress look like in this game? I have this sort of independent trials, but what does progress? How does this game evolve over time? And I felt like that's where I wanted to sort of like, that's where I was sucked in. I want to know more about that. What does progress look like? If I'm 35 hours, I'm 60 hours, I'm 100 hours into this game. Where am I at differently than when I started? Yeah. Oh, and I also say, like, I think you had like the character descriptions were just so vivid. I just feel like you as a writing team and the people who had expertise there had this very strong point of view. I really enjoyed you provided a perspective of what that character was trying to put out there, and also the perspective of how people viewed that character. And so that's kind of what brought that, like I call that, strong setup to life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you all. Great feedback for Team 3, things to think about, and some other ideas. All right. Last but certainly not least, Team 4 is up next with their promo video, Twisted Concerto. I have to say, all these promo videos are just fantastic and just well put together. So congratulations to all of you. Nice job, Team 4. Looking forward to hearing more insights into the pitch for this one. If you want to come off mute, the speaker for Team 4, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
All right. So our lovely team leader put together a little presentation for us. So I'm going to go ahead and share that. Okay, so I would like to kind of show everyone our game. So our game is Twisted Concerto, and it is an exciting, thrilling horror adventure game set in the 1930s. And so the key emphasis of this game is music combined with storytelling. And our audience is a mature audience due to kind of the gore, brutality, and mature themes within the game. And then I would like to give a quick shout out to the rest of my team, myself, Michaela, Kai, and Gabby. They did amazing. All right, so in our first person stealth game, you kind of travel through the 1930s world, and you play Sean, who is an intern journalist. And while he heard a story about this old concert hall that burnt down and decided to go investigate. And while investigating, he was basically ambushed by a monster and taken to an underground hall turned laboratory. And the key features of this game, it is a kind of choose your own mechanic game where there are different skill paths that you can go down. And while the game does like to emphasize sneaking past creatures, you also have the option to kind of go out of your way and kill everyone if you so choose. And we also have multiple endings based in our game. Okay, so here we have our characters. I don't know if you can see that well, but in the top left corner is our character Sean, before he kind of gets turned into a monster. And then on the top right is his monster form. So the main character, as I said, is an intern journalist who is captured and injected with a monster serum in hopes to help the kind of monsters in their little rebellion. And his goal is to escape or convince the Dr. Dimitri, who is our villain, to finish his cure to kind of undo the monsterness. And then in the top bottom right corner, we have Diana. She is our main companion character in a sense. She is the leader of the Monsters Rebellion, and her goal is to guarantee the freedom of all the monsters, basically. And she is a kind of human Boar mutation. And then for Dr. Dimitri, here's our main villain. He was a famous orchestra conductor who, after the loss of his dying lover, he turned to science to kind of create a cure to keep his lover alive. However, he's kind of selfishly keeping him alive. It's against his wishes, basically. And then, so the game it starts in the underground dungeon that Sean was taken to, and it was a kind of living quarters concert hall turned into a laboratory dungeon based on Dimitri's wishes. And so Sean's transformation is gradual, and if you notice in the video, you saw the kind of skill tree on the hand. That is our skill tree, and it is gained by drinking a potion that you have to gain ingredients for. And basically this potion, while giving you cooler skill advancements, it does have the consequence of furthering the transformation. And so in our game, like I said, you will have to choose kind of between fighting or sneaking past monsters. There's not really a consequence for choosing one over the other. It's just personal preference. Some people prefer going in like guns blazing, or some people prefer just kind of smoothly walking through the game. And then throughout the entire game, Dimitri's music, his orchestra, is playing throughout the halls, and the music changes based on the situation. So, for example, if you're like trying to sneak past a monster, the music can get quiet but very tense. Or if a monster catches you, it can have a sudden jump in the beat and be even more intense. So for our mechanics, we have melee combat combined with parry and dodging techniques. Basically, the player must kind of correctly time attacks and parries in order to not get hit, or in order to hit the monster properly. And Sean will use various weapons found throughout the hall. So it's mainly kind of broken pipes, syringes, rusty knives, scalpels, broken bottles. And if you're lucky enough, you may find a musical instrument, and you can like bang someone over the head with a violin if you really want to. And then, so for our stealth mechanic, we have a visibility indicator as seen by and it's an eye. So when you're in line of sight of a monster, the eye will open to indicate that you are being seen. Whereas if you're hiding or out of line of sight, the eye will remain closed to indicate that you're hidden. And then beyond that, there's going to be items that the player can use, such as like rocks to kind of make a noise somewhere else and distract the monsters. Or we also have smoke bombs to kind of create a cover for the player to run through. And then for crafting, we have, it is going to be featured. You can craft potions, tools, obviously the potion for the skill tree points. And all these ingredients can be found throughout the halls and the labs, and there will be notes that have the recipes listed on the notes, basically. And but there will be a bit of a consequence if you try to craft things without the recipe. If you don't craft it well, or you try to craft a random thing, it can backfire on you and like injure your character. So for our main display, we have obviously the eye, the open versus closed to indicate the line of sight and the visibility towards the monster. And then as you saw in the trailer, we also have Sean's journal. Basically, since he is a journalist, we thought it would be very fitting to have the kind of UI be a journal where he can just like write things down. So for example, the map, we're going to have him do like a little drawing. As the player moves along, he gets to draw where he's been to keep track of that. And he'll also collect things like notes and character profiles based on notes that he's found throughout the map. And he'll also keep track of his skill points, his health, and his inventory all in this journal. And then for our marketing, so we really wanted to focus on a very immersive gameplay. We didn't want anything to take away from the kind of like creepy, intense moments of the gameplay. And we also wanted to have a big focus on music. And so we really wanted to kind of put that out there too, if people were interested in that. And then we also had talked about our plans for marketing, and we decided that a mix between TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube would be the best to get our game out there. Mainly TikTok would be used for kind of in progress and up until the game release to kind of get people interested from a while before release and up to release. And then Twitch and YouTube will be mainly at the point of release, or it will be right before release through the use of small demos gifted to streamers and YouTubers. And then, yeah, that should be everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Awesome. Great job, Team 4. Fantastic work. We're going to miss and match the order this time. We're going to start with Max.
Hello. I'm your charger. But that was a great game. I really enjoyed it. Very comprehensive, brief. You broke down a lot of things that tell us about the elements of the game. I look forward to giving you more feedback on this game at a later date. So I'm going to pass it along.
All right, thanks, Max. Steve, if you want to come off and give Team 4 some great feedback.
Yeah, like every team, boy, I wish I could sit down and have coffee with you, because I feel like there are people on this team who love music. I feel like there are people on this team who love art. I feel like there's people on this team who are mixing with science. It just felt like there's a lot of and the time period. Somebody on this team loves history, because you don't set things in pre-war 1930s without some vision of what that could bring to life. And so I feel like I saw it, which speaks to, I think, the most powerful part of this game, which is it's just going to be compelling, sort of visually, environmentally. That concert hall meets science laboratory is just such a really vivid environment to be in, and I feel like that's going to be the focus. I think you sort of recognize that because you talked about, like, boy, music's going to be important to this game, which is both really inspiring, and thank you for the call out, because we typically, when we think about making things like in the software industry, we think about how we use music and text and sound, and you called that out. And also, by the way, I appreciate in your doc you called out accessibility. So again, somebody on this team loves accessibility, and thank you for that call out. Having said that, that's part of the challenge of the game. How does, something said in the pre World War I 1930s, how does that music feel compelling to a contemporary audience? So one respect, maybe there's a ton of freedom because nobody who plays your game's actually going to know. So that would be one thing. And so you just have some freedom. And I think like that visual freedom that you have is going to be really part of that compelling thing. So, and that was really great. As a document from end to end, just congratulations. It was super tight. It was very easy to see how the setup was related to the mechanics, was related to the story, was related to why does the journal exist? Why do potions exist? So from beginning to end, it was just very, very tight. It was purposeful. It was focused. There was a rationale for why things exist. They all were consistent with the quest of your story. And so I feel like this is a game I'm going to enjoy being in and kind of seeing and feeling like as I go from concert hall to the lab, and the connection between those two things is what's going to really kind of keep me going and making progress in this game.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steve. And last but not least, Troy.
Yeah, this was cool. Let me just say, I was really pleased to see the art today, where you were walking through and showing this environment, and it is beautiful. I remember there was an older theater that was called the Orpheum that was retrofitted. That was a very old theater, and it's just this beautiful, grandiose theater, and I love seeing that incorporated. And when I was reading the document, I was like, the Twisted Concerto, like I thought it was amazing. I started reading through it and seeing that we were a reporter. I'm like, all right, I'm on this. And we're going into this situation. I'm hearing about this, conductor that kind of went MIA. And we go into it, and then the animal thing comes in completely out of left field. Like, it's a cool concept. I love that concept. I think it's fascinating. But like, in terms of this world and environment you're building, accenting that is, I felt like there was a lot missing, because like you had this great strong start, but then once you got into the core of that, I felt like the elements that you were pushing for that advertisement, I think, slipped away. In fact, when you would present this game to people, I think when they get to see this game and music and stuff, I feel like there needs to be a more emphasis on that. For instance, there may be like an insanity aspect to the music when you play in areas that you might have to do something. For instance, there's gramophones are a very popular thing in that time period. You might look into doing something with gramophones or some other things, and even using like terminology like vibrato for like the more intense sections, showing that there's like a very core emphasis on that. Other than that, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great. I thought that it was just aesthetically, it was great. I think that you really had something there. I just think it needs to be built out a little bit more. Like, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard this was the crazy scientist. Maybe he was like, his orchestra messed up, and he was obsessed with like perfection, and he tried turning people into musical instruments. So you had like a human with like the head of an accordion, or like maybe arms like violins, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. So when the animals came out of left field, my mind kept going, how does the conductor go to animal scientists? Like, the two didn't really match up well with me. And I want to end my thing saying this. I saw with marketing, like everyone did really interesting things with marketing on how they want to approach their game. Our studio is a much smaller studio, and we contacted hundreds of YouTubers, and we only heard back from 2 YouTubers out of hundreds of contacts. I think it was close to 500 YouTubers we contacted. We only heard 2. And it just shows that, like, if there's a lot of avenues with marketing, it is a very, very intensive thing. In fact, it is a career. So there's a lot of different avenues for marketing that you should approach, where you should be like reaching out to like game reviewers like IGN or Game Informer. You'd be reaching out to YouTubers is still good to do, and other streamers, but don't rely on them to be your sole source of marketing. I think that's an area where they expect to, oh, these YouTubers can get you to blow up, which is true. But it's almost like winning the lottery of trying to get them to play your game, because it is very difficult to get the right YouTuber to play your game to help you gain that momentum. So look into different aspects of marketing, look at what small studios do, look what large studios do, and use that to get your game out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy, and Steve and Max, for that wonderful feedback and some pointers for Team 4. So that concludes the presentation portion of this evening and tonight's festivities. So congratulations again to all of you. And Dana, did we have a final slide, final thoughts, or am I just riffing here?
Yeah, we can mention SNHU Connect, and then we have some time for
Okay,
everyone
great.
to just chat industry.
Cool. So if you want to kick it over to that last bit there, and we'll take it from there. So I wanted to leave you all with some final thoughts for this evening. Again, thank you all for lending your talent, your efforts, Your creativity is truly inspiring, honestly. I came away just blown away by the artwork, the amazing writing, and just the concepts. So keep going, keep pushing forward. Don't let this be the end of any of your games. Continue the work and push it forward. So I'd encourage you all there. I did want to give some major shout outs and thank yous to all of the folks that are involved with this. It takes a tremendous amount of work on the back end to bring this type of experience to you all. So I wanted to just say thank you to Joe Whitworth and the academic team for putting that together and giving the opportunity for our students to kind of jump in to have something like this for experience and bring forward your talents. I also want to thank our career engagement team, Alyssa and Sonia, for helping in getting this, spearheading this project as well, back-to-back years. So this is something that we're going to probably continue, pushing forward as the years come. So tremendous work there. Dana and the ER team really came together to bring a more wide variety of employers for this go around and this version. So we could get even more voice and feedback for all of you and the hard work that you put in over the last 8 weeks for you students. And I wanted to thank all of our employers for being here and lending their time, both to review the work and also here at the showcase to give live feedback. And that practice to our students, it just goes a very long way. So thank you to Steve and Troy and Max for being here this evening. And to our students, again, thank you so much for being here, for being brave, for being courageous to put your work that's really personal, it can feel like, out there to the world, to get positive and feedback and those ideas to keep pushing forward. And again, just blown away with the creativity from all of you. And again, if you want, you can stay engaged with us on SNHU Connect, where we offer up resources and let you know about different events that are coming up and happening. So we have our career networking community within SNHU Connect that you can jump in on and get some more information as it comes. So with that, I wanted to open it up to all of you for a little bit more time here. If you had questions you wanted to ask to the employers while we're still here, or if they had questions to any of the teams that they wanted to impart maybe a little bit of wisdom to leave you all with, I will give the floor to the rest of the group. Thank you so much.
Good job,
I just wanted to. I'm sorry. I just wanted to pop in real quick and say thank you for Steve, Troy, and Max so much. That was amazing feedback throughout the whole thing. I really appreciate that. And congratulations to all the teams. I'm really proud of all of you. You did fantastic, amazing work. And some of those videos I didn't even see yet. So that was really exciting to me to be able to see some stuff for the first time. But yeah, pat yourselves on the back. You did amazing work.
Yeah, just really, Corey, sorry, I can't help myself. Corey knows me well enough. I can't, I love the sound.
Take it away, Steve.
Yeah. Just, really, just so, and I just really, I say this authentically. I think you all now have so much experience of what it means to collaborate people and put ideas out there. And, again, as a way to kind of compel you forward and helping you do good things in the universe. Remember, like, the thing that you made that you're proud of, you made with other people. And those things were better when those people were different than you. And there's a way to celebrate that, and there's a way to live that. And I think all of us who work in the industry recognize that every day. The best thing you're going to make with other people. And the thing you'll be proud of is because those people were different than you. The second thing is to remember, like, how it's a hard world out there, and you all put ideas out there. You stood up and you said, I have an idea. I'm going to express that in words or concepts or art. And that's a vulnerable thing. And I hope that you all will remember, like I plead with you to remember that when you're collaborating with other people and there's about ideas, is those people are being vulnerable. And so please find a way to support that. The world is a better place with more ideas in it. And there's a role that you can all play in all your collaborations to welcome and make those environments comfortable to have ideas. Remember, having an idea is an act of vulnerability. So please go out and support that. You know, and this is a journey. Like, just keep going. You just keep going. Just put it out there again and again and again, and it'll find a way. And you know, you're gonna go make the world a better place. The world's better with more mojo in it. You all have the mojo. You know, not everybody does. So feel like, hey, you're obligated to put it out there now. You know.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, this really was an amazing. Everyone did an amazing job with this. I mean, if I could add on, it just from my one thing that I've learned is have fun with it. My first project I ever worked on, I was so stressed working on this and what people would think about it. I literally put myself in the hospital due to stress. Do not get to that point ever. There are way better ways to do that. In fact, if you could look at that game versus the project I've been working on now, it is dramatically different. That is in part due to me enjoying it more and focusing on building something out of enjoyment and like what people would like to see versus me being scared that they're going to hate what I do. And the thing is, like every project you do, the next one you'll be better at because you've learned all these new skills along the way. As an artist, you will forever be a student of design. There will forever be new stuff. There may be VR, it may be new AR, it may be any sort of thing that it comes down the road. There may be new things that come in, and you will forever learn new concepts. You will learn new things and just have fun with it because you will burn out so fast if you just focus on, oh my gosh, people are going to hate this. Like, do something that you are passionate about and people will find that passion.
Can I ask a question to the...
Thanks, Steve. And Troy? Yes, I heard a student and someone else raised their hand. So by all means, come off mute and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a creative writer and I don't want to alienate the artists here, but I just think they have a lot more of a easier way to display their skills in a sense. So from a creative writer standpoint, how would I get noticed in the industry really? Do I join indie projects or do I just have to develop good contacts?
It's a great question.
What would you suggest?
Fantastic question.
I can take that question. Being a talent sourcer, I think your network is kind of like your net worth in talent. So you want to make sure that you establish good contacts and you want to build a strong portfolio with creative writing projects in it. Either that be, i.e., from a school project, game jam project, indie project. You want to make sure that you have those pieces in your portfolio and you want to highlight like the top 3 at the top because you can fill a portfolio with a lot of stuff, but you want to highlight the top 3 at the top. And that'd be my answer to it.
Thank you, Max.
Can I ask a question? How does
Absolutely,
one,
May.
thank you. How does one get into the industry right out of college? I feel like they always expect us to have like 5 more years in a game company or something.
Yeah, I'm looking at Max. That feels Max is literally a talent sourcer, so he's the expert here.
Let's hear it, Max.
That is a tough question, so I'm gonna give you the answer. The best option is probably to get an internship with one of these gaming companies because with AAA studios, the gap from entry level to mid level, it's not too many entry level positions. So all entry level positions are usually assigned to interns unless the intern declines and then they go back out to the open market. With the mid-level or like the associate level, you have to have that experience with the AAA studio. That's normally the call out on the resume. So the thing that you can do to help with that is basically work on indie projects and get on the phone with a talent sourcer or a recruiter to explain the project and your depth of work. Because a lot of times the resume is not going to call out at those things. So your job is to connect with those recruiters and talent sources in the industry to figure out what they're looking for specifically at that company for somebody without the AAA experience. Because you don't have to have the AAA experience. That's a barrier to entry sometimes. You can have different experience that relates, that's relevant to that AAA experience.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to add on to that. So don't get discouraged. The internships are very competitive, especially for the larger studios. There's a guy that I work with. He finally got an internship at a studio that he wanted to do, and it took him 2 years to get an internship with a major studio. And he is one of the most talented artists I know. And it was just, to me, it was just shocking because he's got that much of a skill set. But what he did in his time was, while he was looking for work, while he was working for these internships, every day he was doing one of those things where he was sculpting and improving his skill set every single day to be the best artist that he could possibly be. And he was having fun with it. And he was, he was making connections in the meantime. He was networking, and he was doing everything he could to build his portfolio, to build his network, to get that stuff set up. And it still shocks me it took him as long as it did to get into one of the larger studios, but it is a very competitive thing. But you will burn out if you are just filled with anxiety about this process. Like, it's very competitive, but it's very fun. So have fun with it, enjoy with it, and just keep at it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I wanted
I
to.
second that, Troy.
Yeah. I feel like I want to jump in here too. Like,
Sure.
listen to Troy, listen to Max. They're out there on the front lines of that. But the other thing they mentioned, portfolio builder, right? You have to have like networking and opportunity visibility, but you need to think about like everything you do is adding to your portfolio in a focused kind of way. You want your portfolio to reflect what's needed out there right now. The easiest way to take a look at that is do what you see. So if you're a writer, here's my challenge to you. As you're walking home, I want you to sort of see like there's many more words out there than you think. And I know it might be not in the genre that you want, their menus, their ads, their whatever they are, but words are part of the human experience. So go out and challenge yourself to write what you see. If you're an artist, create what you see. Go out there and create, because that'll add to both the set of experiences and will help you develop a portfolio that can be relevant for different opportunities that kind of come your way. Does that make sense? Right. So, if you're a software developer right now, like as Troy mentioned, you got to be making something in AI with AI. You got to be thinking of it as a tool, so software develop what you're using. Right. Okay.
Are we able to get in contact with you guys somehow?
Yes, I'm available on LinkedIn. And what I was gonna say before we started, like the Q&A, I appreciate all y'all work tonight, and I'm gonna give a full brief back to Dana. I'm getting the strike team together to work on reviewing the project because game design and how it's set up, it's not my wheelhouse. I'm more talent, so I'm gonna get a team together to work on it and then give you feedback from professionals in the industry, and then I'll set up time with each team just to go through that feedback and hopefully have some of those people on the call so that they can talk to you while doing it. So that's the goal. But I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll get off the mic.
And real quick, I just wanted to add in kind of regarding portfolios, getting jobs in the industry. Something that I always communicate with students that are still learning. Basically, kind of what I did when I was in my undergraduate program is I did this thing I called Thing a Week, where I would pick something from an existing game that I really loved, and I try to recreate it as closely as possible because you have something to compare your work to, right? If I wanted to make the whirlwind skill from the barbarian in Diablo 3, I would go ahead, open up Unreal Engine 4, and create that as closely as possible. If I wasn't finished with it by the end of the week, I would drop it and move to something else. And later in future weeks, I would go back to that thing and try doing it from scratch again. And that repetition and constantly creating and creating, you build up your portfolio massive scale. And like, they were saying, you want to put your primary focuses first. And something that is kind of controversial, but I will say it, game companies don't care who you are. They don't care about you, your about me. They don't want to read that first. What they want to see first is your work. They want to see that you can do the actual work first. And then once they're interested, they'll kind of explore who you are, what kind of things you're into, stuff like that, and focus on it more. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
I got a quick question, if y'all don't mind me hopping in real quick. So this is just kind of a general question to all of the guest speakers here. For those that may have aspirations of creating their own game studio or just a multimedia studio in general, what type of advice would you give on the process of starting one up, as well as some things to look out for, things along the lines of that?
I would reflect. I think what you want to do in those circumstances is learn as quickly as you can. It's easier to do that the smaller you are and the more focused you are. Right? I tell for example, all the people who join, either my teams or teams at the company, like, be in an environment which you can make things quickly, go through that cycle of have an idea, plan something, build something, ship something, get feedback, iterate, turn it around. Do that as quickly and as focused you can, because that learning cycle is super, super important. So my advice would be start as small as you can, as focused as you can. Try to get through the cycle of every one of those elements, concept to delivery to marketing to feedback to iteration, as quickly and efficiently as you can.
Also, try networking with other people that have gone through that process. Despite having a studio and doing stuff, I'm still wanting to learn and grow. I'm not a major industry or a major company, but I'm wanting to learn. Like, I'm having discussions with there's a game called My Friendly Neighborhood, very popular game. I've been in talks with the guy John with that, and having conversations with him and just talking with other people that are either larger or at the same scale and trying to learn from that. So like, there's a lot of people that have gone through that process and hurdles. Like, there are so many stories that I can tell you. The one thing I would say is, if you're looking to do your own thing, get an NDA right away. I have had so many people refuse to interact with me because I have an NDA. One guy openly said to me that he was only coming to part of this project so he could steal my work, my idea, and do his own thing. And I was like, okay, you're a thief, but an honest thief, so I'll give you that. So like, sadly, it is a very aggressive thing. Our studio recently had someone try, despite signing an NDA, they stole our idea and ran off with it. And we're trying to figure out the legal hurdles of that currently right now. That's kind of a scary thing, especially knowing that this guy is now a hacker. So that's a terrifying prospect, but just cover yourself legally. NDA is a very, very important thing for your studio or whatever you guys are wanting to do, because your ideas that you have are very important, and making sure you have that protected, have that trademarked and stuff is very, very important, because it's a very scary field that people are willing to do stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that out there, because that's very important right off the bat.
So
always protect your intellectual property. That's a great point, Troy. Nice job.
I greatly appreciate that feedback. I didn't even consider that. But if you don't mind me having a follow-up question to that. So obviously, start small so that you can gain experience with the people that you trust while making games, if you were to go about creating your own studio, and then slowly build on from there with more experience that you get, is at least what I'm getting from that. But when you do get to the point where, let's say, bigger projects require, editors, more creative writers, more artists to help out with animation, or so on and so forth, what are some things to look out for then? Because at least for me, aside from the team that I worked with on this project together, which, by the way, love you guys. Like, you guys are awesome. I work with a very, very close friend of mine for a different game. And I've only worked with like very, very close friends / family when it comes to doing stuff like that. So what would be some things to look out for if I do start looking for other people to avoid situations like that happening, aside from like obviously getting NDAs and whatnot?
Okay, I'll jump in here again. I think there's two things that people don't think about enough. One is, are you willing to spend time with these other people? Because, I have this expression, the best thing you're going to make with other people. But it turns out, like, you're going to spend a whole bunch of time with them. And regardless of how talented they are, or regardless of how they do, if that does not go well, it will not work out in the end. And it's an important factor. The second one is a level of passion that's durable. People will, like, you want to work with people who care about what they do, their craft, and what you're working on, not just in this moment, but, the 4 months from now when it's hard to do this work, making things, as I'm sure you're all aware, right? Remember the beginning of your projects, it was great, right? All ideas were fantastic. You were like, it was really great. And then that progressed. And then there's that middle part of the project where, boy, there was a lot of just, I'll call it work person like detail, right? There's just time and energy that had to be spent. It felt probably a lot less glorious than the meeting, but people who have passion did that part too. And then there was that part at the end, the details, the getting the ready, the final stuff. You got to care about that too. So you want to work with people who are going to have that durable passion and commitment.
Awesome. Thank you. I just want to be mindful of everyone's time. I know we're running a little bit over, but I wanted to get to at least one last question, a student question that looks like Priscilla has her hand raised before we end this evening. So Priscilla, if you want to come off of mute and ask your question.
So my question was, what do you think it takes to enter a narrative designer role? Because it's easy to talk about art and writing, but like narrative designer, especially for the team leads, this was kind of like a low key test at that, but like how do you actually show that you can do that?
Troy, this might be best one for you, or Max.
Hold on one second. I sent a message last month or the month before about a narrative designer, so I'm gonna get exactly that feedback.
I'll let Max takes this one because I think a lot of it is just getting the right projects to present yourself. So I think he'd be able to get more of a nail in the head situation and be able to showcase that a little bit better.
Okay. So I was reaching out to a recruiter on the narrative design team. So that's why I waited to get what they said so I can have it directly from the source, because I didn't want to give you what I thought, which was basically build out a portfolio and make enhanced characters. But this is exactly what they're going to say. It's all about creating situations for the characters to enhance the gameplay for the character. So come up with things in game, scripted portions that propel the character in a new direction and give them something new to try. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Do you think that you would
Okay.
need to learn coding for it? Because I know narrative designer, a lot of it is like managing teams. So
What I always say is having those skills is always valuable to a team. So it doesn't have to be your main skill. It doesn't have to be that you have to be the person writing the code, but knowing that skill is always valuable to the team. So when you're interacting with other stakeholders within the company, you're able to speak their language so that the project's not slow by them talking in their language. So like a coder is going to talk mainly in coding language. And that's usually why we have a producer to decipher all that language and make sure everybody stays on the same page and the project keeps flowing. But if you're a narrative designer, I don't think it hurts to learn coding so that you have that additional skill. So when you get in the room, you can talk about it.
all right,
Awesome.
thanks. Yeah, thank you for answering that. It was really insightful. Something I
Great.
think about a lot, and it's weird to try to approach that as a writer.
Thanks for the question, Priscilla. So with that, I'm going to put a bow on this evening. Again, thank you to everyone. Tremendous work all around. Truly inspired by the students and their work. Again, keep going with it. Don't stop. Get that perseverance. And, I hope you enjoyed this experience, the opportunity that we gave you all. And again, thank you to our employers for your time and dedication to helping out our students and giving that feedback to them live and in the moment. So thank you again. And we'll see you on the next one. Hope everyone enjoys their evening. Take care.
Yay!
Bye.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you,
night.
everybody.
Congratulations.
It was amazing. Thank you.
Great job.
You all did
everybody.
great.
Congratulations,
Thanks, everybody.
Woo!
Bye.